Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at an article from USA Today. Now, this was published on September 3rd, written by Joel Shannon. Look at the title here. South Dakota dismisses elite class of so-called experts, carries on with state fair after Sturgis Rally fueled beer virus surge. They're upset about this. They don't like that people are returning to their normal lives. So they're trying to create this idea that there was this surge. You had hundreds of thousands of people. Hundreds of thousands. All right, they try to play it like it was only, 426,000, which a few weeks back I already went through this with the whole rally itself. You had, or a few after the rally, so it was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. But after the rally, they did an article, and at the time there was only 27 cases, but 300 cases total. 300 or 400. There's like 100 and then another 300 or something like that, if memory serves what the article's saying. But they're trying to play down the numbers of people that showed up by assuming that the number of vehicles counted, everyone drove in by themselves to lower the numbers. And even then, with them screwing with the number of attendees, it's still a ridiculously low number because you have, say, 426,000, I think is what they're trying to claim with everyone, because that's how many vehicles were counted by by law enforcement. So you get 426,000 vehicles, everyone showing up by themselves, we'll say with their logic. So they show up by themselves, and then you've got 400 cases. That's less than 1%. That's a real fucking surge. Yeah, okay. Let's get into the article here, because they don't like the fact that people are going to the state fair. South Dakota is one of the nation's hotspots for beer virus infections. No, it isn't. 300 cases locally, I think was what it was, or 100 cases locally, or because it's like 100 out of state or 300 out of state. 100 one place, 300 another is not a hot spot. That didn't stop another large-scale event from kicking off Thursday because it wasn't the situation you're claiming, you dishonest piece of shit. The rural South Dakota State Fair, which reported an attendance of 205,000 people last year, is set to run through Labor Day with more hand washing stations, social distancing reminders, and an encouragement, but not a requirement for attendees to wear masks. Oh no, and you're butthurt about this, aren't you? Because, Joel, South Dakota isn't pushing the left Democrat narrative, and everyone wants everything focused on the beer virus, because when people are looting, rioting, and burning cities down, sleepy, creepy Uncle Joe can't handle that, so you got to put it on this shit and make people focus on this, because that's what his people want to focus on, because they think they can take Trump on this. It's ridiculous. Oh no, they're not going to wear masks though. It comes on the heels of the state's two largest events, the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally and the Sioux Empire Fair. Oh, no. Heaven forbid. And what's funny is they're trying to blame Sturgis alone for that uptick in cases. But what about the Sioux Empire Fair? It was all Sturgis's fault, though, because big, bad, evil, mean bikers, racist Trump supporters. Fucking assholes. Everyone in the legacy media these days, with rare exception, are a bunch of fucking assholes. Like deluded, self-aggrandizing, think they're special, think they're an elite class, shit-eating scumbags. That's what they're all turning out to be, and they're making it clear that they are. In the weeks following those events, South Dakota has emerged as a virus hotbed, according to data and analysis. Yeah, I love this. They try to blame Sturgis for all this. Both the other fair and Sturgis were a factor. And even then, it's still less than 1% if you just use Sturgis, you dishonest shit. Oh, God. State and national health experts say the rise in cases is likely fueled by a combination of factors, including school reopening, small gatherings, and major events. Oh, so there's a few things that are involved here. 400 cases. We're not talking about a hot event here. Those larger events have been made possible by South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem's steadfast resistance to restrictive measures aimed at slowing the spread of the virus. She has discouraged schools from requiring masks, instead promoting hand washing as the best to prevent infections, because it is, and rallied against an elite class of so-called experts whose opinions impact individual liberties. Oh no, so you don't like it that she actually sides with the fact of individual liberty. And when you literally have the University of Minnesota's CIDRAP I can't remember what the initials stand for, publishing an article where two experts went through all the data on masks and basically said there's no proof that they do shit. Okay, when you have Switzerland showing that it didn't basically do shit and that clean washing your hands and stuff like that actually worked. And, per 100,000 deaths, they're comparable to the United States. Your narrative fails when they didn't require masks. The mask thing is about the fact of forcing compliance at this point. It's not about safety. It's not about public health. It's about the fact of forcing you to comply so down the road they can make you comply with something else. These people are scum pushing this shit. Yeah, buddy, that's right. Shipwreck, who wrote this? You're scum. But as cases surge in the state, public health officials are grappling with the impact of Sturgis Rally, which gained national attention as one of the largest events to be held since the onset of the pandemic. The event has so far been linked to one death, out of 460,000 is the number they're using. I'm sorry, which is the number of vehicles that was counted for. Okay, but one death, 460,000 people according to your bullshit way of counting. Okay, because it was 460,000 vehicles, but one death out of 460,000 by your number, which is still ridiculously low. I mean, one death is wrong, but they were an adult. They went there. They made a choice. They put their life into their own hands. See, we can't do that anymore. For whatever reason, we can't take any personal responsibility and risk for when it comes to ourselves. In South Dakota, 118 residents who attended the rally subsequently tested positive for beer virus. Nationally, about 300 cases have been linked to the rally, which they did 65 degrees of separation, I'm sure, to get that 300 to be linked to it. So you have 400 cases with, now this was funny. Well, that's less than 1% of the more than 460,000 people who converged on Sturgis. Dr. J. Robert Kim Farley said it is likely the tip of the iceberg. No, it's not. Okay, this is the most you got out of it. All right, and the left and Democrats and legacy media are having to lie about the numbers that showed up. They counted 460,000 vehicles. Now let's assume half of them, which I know it was probably more than half, had someone accompanying them, at least one person. They counted 460,000 vehicles. Let's say half of them had two people, whether it was someone riding bitch on the back of a bike or someone in the passenger seat of a car or truck. Okay, so literally that means if we do it by that, there was, let's see, 690,000 people that converged on Sturgis. If we go and we do some simple math, instead of just taking all the vehicles and assuming one person drove in the vehicle, everyone did that. No one had multiple people in their vehicle or had someone on the back of their motorcycle or anything like that, because that's what you're doing. You're assuming that didn't happen. But let's assume half did. So you get 690,000 people show up. You get 400 cases. That's way under 1%. But you're trying to fucking scare people with the shit, and it ain't working anymore. People want to get back to work. They want to get back to their normal lives. But you think this is a way to hold the country hostage and get creepy, sleepy Uncle Joe in office. So we all have to suffer so that you can fucking try to, so that the left and Democrats, I should say, can try to fucking commit a coup. For all intents and purposes, because when you have Democrat operatives saying basically that Trump's going to win in a landslide, and then with their mail-in ballot scheme, all of a sudden creepy, sleepy Uncle Joe is going to be declared the winner, okay, because Democrat operative basically said that, they're telling you that they're going to rig the election. And they need the beer virus for it in part, because that's what they think of their winning thing is. 400 cases. Yeah. You people are pathetic. Kim Farley, a professor of epidemiology at Community Health Sciences at the UCLA Fielding School of Public Health, told USA Today on Thursday that beer virus is a particularly difficult virus to trace to its infection point. Yeah, okay. Symptoms might not be able to show up for weeks, if at all, in an infected person. Meanwhile, that person could be spreading the virus. So basically, here they are saying that they somehow managed to find those 400 cases and say that they're linked to it. But here they are right after saying, we can't trace this. So how do you know those 400 cases came from it? When you really can't trace it. It's hard to trace. Because you're pulling it out of your ass? That makes sense if that's what it is. Cell phone location data analyzed by the nonprofit Beer Virus Alliance has found evidence that rally participants came from each of the 48 continental United States and more than half of the nation's counties. Really? So they're monitoring people's cell phones to figure out where people came from with this. Gotta love how cell phone companies sell your data and Google sell your data. Oh, that's just so tasty. Yeah? And you would think with all these people doing that, you'd have more than your 400 cases. And that it would have created a massive surge. It didn't. 400 cases is not a surge. Assholes. These people are all assholes. They also suggest, the data also suggests participants were less likely to practice social distancing. They stayed at home less and traveled more compared to their neighbors. This behavior continued before and after the August rally. The Beer Virus Alliance data shows. Well, I'm surprised they haven't gone so far as to try to dox these people. Because heaven forbid they don't do what the left wants them to do. Heaven forbid they don't do what the globalist shit pigs want them to do or the Democrats want them to do. And they want to just live their damn lives. So they went out. So they hopped on their motorcycle and went for a ride. Deal with it. I love this. Governor Kristi Noem remains focused on our hospitalization rate, not our state's case count. Well, looking at all the numbers that have been manipulated and shady and shifty, you got people flying over handlebars that are considered, the idea of a comorbidity. You get someone blowing their brains out in Michigan, considered a comorbidity. And only 6% of the actual cases died from the beer virus. That says a lot. And you should be focusing on the hospitalization rate, not the state's case count, because if people aren't being hospitalized, it is not serious. That's what you don't like, though, because when you look at it that way, you people are the ones who look like idiots, because if you've only got a few people hospitalized and it ain't serious for the other people, this ain't a big deal. While the rally's impact ripples across the nation, a spike in cases in South Dakota is also gaining national attention. You're the ones making it national attention here. The Mount Rushmore state has recorded the nation's third highest rate of coronavirus cases per capita over the last 2 weeks, according to the Associated Press, and the highest per capita rate in the nation for the last 7 days, according to the New York Times data. Oh my God. This is like in Mr. Baseball, when Tom Selleck's character, is about to be told that he's been traded to the, oh God, I can't think of the city in Japan, but the Ishiro or something like that, Dragons. Okay. And he's like, I led he made this really obscure fucking statistic to show what it's worth, which was complete bullshit. I led in second base steals in the month of August, I led in home runs or some ridiculous thing in the month of August, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is what they're doing here. Instead of looking at the overall picture, they just want to focus on the last 2 weeks and say, well, it's the highest per capita per nation. Per capita. South Dakota is barely fucking populated. So, of course, per capita, the numbers are going to be high. But if you just look at the numbers themselves, when you manipulate, because that's what statistics do, because they allow you to take numbers, fuck around with them, and get them to mean whatever the fuck you want these days. I mean, it was pretty much you could do that before, but now it's just fucking complete mental gymnastics when they do it. I mean, I actually got into it with a statistics professor once in college. And I said, because trying to tell me it's a math class. And I'm like, this is not math. What do you mean it's not math? I said, math is 1 + 1 = 2. This divided by this is this. This times this is this. Okay. Brought up algebraic functions. I brought up the fact of trigonometry. I brought up the fact of calculus. And I said, those are all math. I said, this is complete. I didn't say bullshit, but that's the idea. I said, you're taking data and you're manipulating it to say one thing as opposed to letting the data speak for itself. That's not math. Yes, it is. I said, no, it's not. and got into it with this professor. I ended up, taking another statistics class later on. I dropped that one because this professor was an asshole. At least the other professor could have been, well, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it is. But yeah, I mean, that's what you do with statistics. That's what you're trying to do here. A statement from Noem's office emailed to USA Today on Thursday says the Republican governor remains focused on our hospitalization rate, and we are encouraged by the fact that only 6% of our ICU beds are currently occupied by beer virus patients. Yeah, because remember we were supposed to have our hospitals all taxed and shit, and that's another reason why they don't want them to go by hospitalization numbers, because when you hear 6% of their ICU is occupied by these cases, it shows how much of a fucking joke this turned out to be compared to, and I'm not saying it's a joke, but I'm saying compared to, okay, what they made it out to be. That's why one reason why they don't want them to be focused on that with South Dakota. Well, hospitalizations are a more accurate metric for studying beer virus spread than cases. There's a lag time from days to weeks, Kim Farley said. So basically, you don't like the idea that it's accurate. Okay, so you're going to use the excuse that it takes longer to figure it out. A little fishy to me. It's a little bit early to say that hospitalizations haven't been affected, Kim Farley said. No, it's not early. We've got 400 cases, 300 out of there, 100 there, and there's not a major issue. Deal with it. You still want to beat this like a dead horse. State epidemiologist Josh Clayton acknowledged there is typically a 2-week lag between increases in cases and hospitalizations. And you've had more than that with Sturgis and the other fair. Or at least Sturgis. So you didn't get shit from Sturgis. But you're going to say 2 weeks? You've had more than 2 weeks with that one. Didn't produce the results you wanted to have so that you could scare people. Scumbags. Currently, there are less than 100 beer virus patients are hospitalized, well within the state's capacity. Yes, and that's weeks after Sturgis. What does that tell you? And that's also with people going back to school and everything else, too. And you're trying to blame it all on Sturgis. Or at least USA Today is here. The pandemic and the surge of cases is impacting the state fair. Candy Briley, the event assistant manager, told USA Today. Yeah. Of course it will, because you've scared the living shit out of people. And you made it seem like if they go outside their homes, they're going to die. When literally 6% of the cases that did die were perfectly healthy people, while everyone else had 3 or 4 comorbidities. Or they blew their brains out or flew over their handlebars and were labeled as a beer virus death. While organizers are ready to welcome fairgoers to Huron, about 125 miles northwest of Sioux Falls, they understand some people might not feel comfortable coming out, and we respect their decision, Briley said. For those who do, they'll be encouraged to keep their distance. Among the reminders, according to Briley, are signs featuring pigs that read, "Have a squeal of a time at the fair. Stay 6 feet apart." So at least they're telling people, hey, maybe you might want to stay 6 feet apart. At least they're doing stuff like that. Okay? You want them to have families with little kids standing 6 feet apart from each other. You people are ridiculous. That's real smart at a fair, because you're going to have little kids with a 6-foot gap. It's almost like you want to set it up so that it's like Predator Central, so that, the parents got to keep 6 feet of distance from their kid. Well, here comes a predator to swoop them up. Because you got a problem with, a family sticking together and not, being forced to be separated by 6 feet of distance, okay? You're upset that people aren't wearing masks. Get over it. They can choose to wear a mask. You nanny state-loving shitbricks. If they're really concerned, they can just not go to the fucking fair. But hey, whatever happened to personal agency and personal responsibility these days? Oh, nanny state Democrats are going to take care of you from a virus That only once you get rid of the comorbidities that more likely killed someone than the actual beer virus, okay, you're talking a few thousand people, several thousand. I mean, it's ridiculous. Not hundreds of thousands, not 100,000 and change. Anyway, I've covered this well enough. I'm going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.